worst thing about sobriety is that I no longer have an excuse for all the dumb shit that I say. And also, I have to remember it all. Okay, brothers, sisters, comrades and friends, welcome to Bat Country. So a few days ago, I did this kind of Q&A thing, and I'm still receiving questions, even though I've done it. Sorry. Regardless, one of them really stuck out to me yesterday from a user called Savinoff. Thank you, Savinoff. And it was such a thinker that I decided to turn it into a very quick video, just to capture my thoughts as I work the problem. I thought I'd take a few minutes to run through this kind of thought experiment with you. So, I'm going to read the question to you, and then I want you to take a couple of seconds to think about it yourself. Because the answer isn't quite as clear-cut as it seems at first. And then I'll give you my answer and my reasoning, and that'll be a video. I hope. So here's the question. Paraphrasing Savinoff, are you ready? If some divine being came down and offered you the choice between two magical powers, one is that you would maintain a lifetime of complete sobriety, and the other is that you could drink in moderation without any of the terrible consequences of alcoholism, which would you choose? You can only have one. So let that sink in. I'll give you a moment to think about it, and then I'll talk about something boring and unrelated for a moment while you roll it around in your head. Feel free to leave it in the comments if you're so inclined. Sorry about that, had to feed the dog. In the meantime, did you know there is a gas cloud in space that smells like rum? Sagittarius B. It's a massive gas cloud near the center of the Milky Way, and it contains ethyl formate. I know, ethyl formate, which is a chemical that smells like rum, and it gives raspberries their distinctive taste. So there's a huge rum cloud in the middle of the Milky Way. And I promised that I would say something boring and unrelated, and instead I said something interesting and relevant. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so do you have your answer? Did you decide to be sober forever? Or did you decide to drink safely in moderation forever? Here's my answer. I would still choose the sobriety. And I feel like I need to explain that, because that is probably the answer I'm supposed to give, you know? And it would be incredibly weird if I took the opposite option, which is to drink safely in moderation. It feels like the thing I'm supposed to say. And that's because I can't unlearn everything I've learned about sobriety. So, let's consider the temptation of the other choice of drinking moderately. One of the criticisms that I often receive is that this channel and the way I talk about my experience sounds like it's romanticizing alcohol. I don't believe that's true. My experience of alcohol was rarely romantic. It certainly wasn't glamorous, even if some of the things I say about traveling and that kind of thing make it feel aspirational. It isn't. But the truth is, if I'm truly honest, there are things that I miss about alcohol and drinking. For example, there is a restaurant in Berlin. It's on a lake, like the jetty, and the tables go out right over the water. And in the summer, it was the most amazing place to be as the sun sets. You have the forest beyond, and you're on the water, literally on the water. And everybody's in a good mood and very cool and stylish, and I miss being able to do stuff like that, drinking on the water. And some other stuff as well. Dating sober. I don't date anymore, but dating sober was a nightmare at the start. And certain professional events are made easier, like new connections are made easier via alcohol. And sometimes I miss some of that stuff. But although the premise of the thought experiment stipulates that you would be able to drink moderately without the consequences of severe alcoholism, there are still consequences just of drinking moderately. And one of those for me is about energy, not in a kind of, metaphysical, spiritual woo-woo way. I mean, the ability to feel energetic. And even for me, as I aged, a couple of glasses of wine is enough for me to feel slightly cloudy in the morning. And I don't miss that. Right now, in sobriety, I am able to be doing things at any given time of the day. Anytime I'm awake, I am capable. And that's not the case on even moderate amounts of alcohol. If you go to the pub or if you stay at home and you drink 4 or 5 beers, you might feel like you're not behaving alcoholically. But alcohol has minor effects, minor consequences, as well as major ones. And over time it catches up, and your sleep becomes very poor, and you are operating at a slightly lower capacity than you otherwise would be. And I don't want that anymore. I don't want that back. If someone invented alcohol that didn't get you drunk and didn't give you a hangover, then yeah, I might consider that. But then what would be the point? Just drink mint tea and fruit juice. So it doesn't make sense. I don't like the thought of drinking in moderation. I think I like the thought of drinking in moderation, because it doesn't appeal to me anymore. But I will acknowledge there is occasionally still a part of me that wishes I could be a normal person and not have to worry about these things, and not have to run a YouTube channel just to keep myself sober, and not have to be working every moment of every day, every time I walk into a supermarket, to keep myself sober. Most people don't have to worry about that, and that is appealing. But the actual alcohol itself is not. But that's not it. So there are other consequences of drinking even moderately that I wouldn't trade back. So let's return to the question briefly. A lifetime of sobriety or a lifetime of safe drinking in moderation? On the one hand, I would be free to enjoy alcohol without the consequences which have ruined my life repeatedly. And that's something I've wished for previously. In fact, in the early stages of sobriety, I would often say, I wish I could drink normally. And the idea of like toasting at celebrations and having a casual drink with friends, or just enjoying the taste, such as it is, without the fear of losing myself, I have to admit some appeal there. But on the other hand, after quite a lengthy stint of sobriety and a really, really hard fight to achieve it, I've already built a life where alcohol isn't necessary and found it to be beneficial. I've learned, or am learning, to cope with difficulty and negative emotions, and to enjoy social situations and find satisfaction without the alcohol. I've already done that work. I don't really need to bring the alcohol back in. After everything I've learned about sobriety, even accepting the magical gift of being able to drink in moderation would still feel like a step backwards. And the real question is, has sobriety become something I love rather than just something I endure? And that's where I'm at. That's why I wouldn't choose the ability to drink in moderation. It's because I no longer consider sobriety to be a burden, to be a sacrifice. Quite the opposite. I love it. And I now recognize that alcohol was the sacrifice all along. And there are more considerations. One is money. So although drinking in moderation is not problematic in terms of its health and social consequences, I have money in my bank account now that I certainly didn't have when I was actively drinking. Alcohol, you just fritter it away, and you lose your bank cards, and which makes you spend in panic. You spend when you don't need to in order to kind of cover the gaps. I don't have expensive medical bills, and I'm able to work consistently and reliably. That, being reliable, is such a gift to yourself. And I'm 40 now, which means I am tired all the time. It just comes with the territory. But I can imagine how much worse it would be if I was drinking even in moderation. I would just be sleepy and grumpy, and no one would want to hang around with me, and I wouldn't get any work done. I certainly wouldn't be able to do stuff like this, which is film a YouTube channel at 5:32 in the morning on a Sunday. But I submit the question to you because I know that my audience is quite diverse and there's a lot of different age groups. In fact, I put this question to my girlfriend, who is younger than me, and her answer was not as definitive as mine. She still has a major pull, a gravitational pull called FOMO, which makes her feel like she wishes that she could go and do the things that people slightly younger than me should do, and things that I have done. I did do when I was drinking, like nightclubbing and going to exotic places and getting in strange situations. And she still yearns for that a little bit. I understand that being asked this question literally just days after I have switched from the first part of my life to the second. It's very easy for me to say that I have overcome the FOMO of my youth. But it's not true of everyone. And I wonder how many people, if you do some introspection, would honestly say they would choose sobriety if consequence-free drinking was on the table. So to you, what is your answer? Leave it in the comments, as I said, if you're so inclined. But you don't have to. I'm not going to force you to share your thoughts. Do so if you wish. Thank you for watching. And as always, good luck out there.